Not all monsters lurk under your bed. Some tuck you in at night. They bring you warm milk with a smile and softly whisper, "I'm doing this for your own good." And little by little, they swallow you whole. Carl Jung uncovered a chilling truth. The most dangerous kind of prison isn't one with bars or chains. It's one built with love, affection, guilt, care, a prison of dependence. And the worst part, it's wrapped in a smile that feels like safety. You didn't grow up, you grew obedient. You didn't learn how to stand on your own. You learned how to please because she needed you to need her. This isn't about abuse or neglect. It's about a love that becomes something destructive. The kind of mother who loves too much, gives too much, and never lets go. Jung called her the devouring mother, not because she was cruel, far from it, but because her love was so complete, so all-consuming. It swallowed every part of who you might have become. You didn't even realize it was happening. You thought it was normal. You thought staying small meant being good. And now, here you are in your 20s, your 30s emotionally frozen, spiritually stuck, still waiting for someone to tell you what to do, still haunted by the echo of her voice whenever you try to take a risk. Are you sure? That's dangerous. Don't leave me. This isn't just your story. It's a silent epidemic. And until you name it, until you see it clearly, you will never escape. In this video, we're diving deep into the psychology behind the devouring mother, why many men stay emotionally paralyzed, and how Carl Jung's most intense insight might just be the key to your freedom, because the hardest enemy to face, it's the one who made you feel safest. What if the person who loved you most was the same person who unconsciously ruined you? That's the horror Carl Jung dared to explore, a horror disguised in hugs, kisses, and warm meals, not abuse. Not neglect, but too much love, too much protection, too much her. The devouring mother doesn't shout, she doesn't hit. Instead, she chains you with guilt and emotional debt. It starts out simple. She ties your shoes, packs your lunch, holds your hand tightly. You feel safe, but as you grow, she doesn't loosen the grip. She tightens it. She picks your clothes, decides what's best for you, tells you what to feel, who to trust, what's dangerous. She never says, "I don't want you to grow up," but every action screams it. To Jung, she's an archetype, the shadow side of the nurturing mother. When care becomes control, when love becomes manipulation, when warmth becomes a cage. And here's the truth, love can be a weapon, not just hatred or violence. Love, when wielded to keep someone weak, can hurt deeper than knives. She doesn't want to hurt you. She isn't evil. She's scared, afraid of being alone, afraid of becoming irrelevant. Afraid that if you grow wings, you'll fly too far and never need her anymore. So she wraps you in guilt. Silently, subtly, suffocatingly. You're my whole world. No one will love you like I do. I sacrificed everything for you. You wouldn't hurt your mother, would you? Each of these words is a chain. You hear them as love, but really they're commands disguised as devotion. This mother doesn't raise a son. She raises a servant, an emotional caretaker. A man too afraid to assert himself because he still hears her voice inside his head every time he tries. Jung didn't invent this idea out of nowhere. He saw it everywhere, in myths, tales, and dreams. In the stories where the witch locks the boy away in the forest. In the dragon guarding the hero's path. In the siren's song that pulls him back whenever he tries to leave. The devouring mother is an archetypal forcer, universal pattern embedded deep in the psyche, and it's not only mothers who embody it. This dynamic shows up in governments, institutions, even relationships. Anywhere that says, "We'll keep you safe, just give up your freedom," that's her voice. But it starts with the mother, because she doesn't raise a man, she raises a boy, who never really grows up, someone who doubts himself, avoids responsibility, who ends up attracted to women that remind him of her and resents them for it. He becomes a prisoner of comfort, a hostage to dependency. These prison bars aren't made of steel, they're made of affection, of safety, of love. It's not pain that traps him, it's the pleasure, the softness, the sweet poison. And the worst part is, he doesn't know it's happening, because no one questions mother's love. It's sacred, holy, pure, but not all purity is good, and not all care heals. Sometimes what looks like love is control, sometimes it's fear, and sometimes it's the thing that stops you from ever becoming yourself. Not all chains are made of metal, some are made of memories. Voices you can't silence, feelings you were never allowed to feel, Childhood is supposed to be where you learn who you are, but if you grew up under the shadow of a devouring mother, you never learn that. You only learn who she needs you to be. The child becomes her mirror, her emotional sponge, her therapist, her emotional husband. He never gets to express anger because it hurts her. He never chases his own dreams because what if he fails and disappoints her? He learns to shrink himself, to silence himself, to submit. And at first, it looks innocent. He's a nice boy, polite, sensitive, always putting others first. But behind that smile is a child who never truly had a childhood. He was never allowed to say, "No, I don't want that. I'm angry. I disagree." Because every time he tried, he saw her cry, or go silent, or say, "After everything I've done for you, .. That sentence is a dagger, a guilt trip laced with love, and it works. So he gives in, again and again, until one day he wakes up and realizes he has no idea who he is, only who he's supposed to be. You might think you left the cage behind, but the devouring mother's voice still echoes. It's a whisper in your head, a feeling in your gut, a shadow on the edge of every decision. That voice doubts you, questions your worth, and warns you what the price of freedom might be. This is the deep psychological imprint Carl Jung called the mother complex. The mother complex is a hidden force that shapes how you see yourself, how you relate to others, and how you experience the world. It's not just about your mother, it's about the unconscious patterns and emotional debts passed down from her. These patterns wrap around you like chains disguised as love, making your independence feel like betrayal. For many men, the mother complex means chronic guilt when asserting independence, fear of disappointing women, magnetic attraction to partners who mirrored the control they felt growing up, emotional passivity masked as kindness, a buried anger so deep it never learns to be expressed. The mother complex keeps you tethered to a childhood version of yourself, trapped in a role you never chose. So how do you break free? It starts with seeing the trap. Awareness is the first step towards freedom. You have to recognize when you're living your mother's needs instead of your own, when guilt is stopping you from saying no, when fear keeps you small, when you minimize your desires and shrink yourself to please others. Next, you reclaim what you lost, your anger, your voice, your confidence, your autonomy. Jung believed this process is called individuation, the journey to become your true self, distinct from your mother's influence and everyone else's demands. Individuation is not self-improvement, it's self-discovery. It's about facing all the parts of you that were buried by love and fear, your rebellion, your sensuality, your strength, and yes, even your anger. These parts were smothered because they threatened the devouring mother's control. But they need to be rescued and embraced if you want to be whole. This is shadow work, the hard, messy, but necessary work of bringing unconscious fears, wounds, and desires into the light. Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The good news, you don't need to hate your mother to be free. This isn't about blame or revenge. Devouring mothers are not villains. They are wounded women who love fiercely but without healthy boundaries. You can forgive her pain while setting clear boundaries for yourself. You can thank her for what she gave you, while rejecting what she took. Emotional separation means you no longer need her approval to feel valid. You no longer fear her disappointment like it's death. You stop living her unlived life and start living yours. But be warned, this separation feels like betrayal at first. You will feel guilt, grief, even like a bad son. That's normal. You're not a bad son. You're simply choosing authenticity over obedience. The good boy inside you has to die for the man to live. This death is painful but necessary. When you separate from the devouring mother, you begin to reclaim your masculine energy, not the toxic aggression the world warns about, but a sacred energy of direction, purpose, and strength. You become a chooser, not a taker. You stand firm in what you know, even if it causes conflict. You love without losing yourself. You can walk away when needed. You serve without being enslaved. Jung believed every human being has an inner call towards wholeness, not perfection. But wholeness means embracing every part of yourself, light and dark, soft and strong, logical and intuitive. Through individuation, you do not become someone new. You return to who you were before the world told you who to be. It's not a quick fix. It's a lifelong journey. Every step away from the mother complex is a step toward yourself. Imagine the moment you stop carrying the unlived life of your parent. Imagine becoming the father you never had, giving yourself permission to be bold, honest, and real. That is the final step of individuation, to father yourself, to guide your inner child out of dependence and into destiny. You stop being a boy trapped in someone else's dream. You become the author of your own story. This is the true initiation into manhood, not marked by age or culture, but earned silently through pain, truth, and courage. The silence after breaking away is like psychological orphaning, an emotional death of your old self. But if you stay in that silence long enough, a new voice emerges yours, a voice that no longer begs or apologizes. It simply says, I am. And for the first time, you believe it. You face two paths. Stay where it's safe, where guilt guides your life. Comfort numbs your hunger, and love keeps you small. Walk into the unknown, feel the pain, face the rage, reclaim yourself. Know this, on the other side of breaking free is a man no one can manipulate, a soul no mother can devour, a life no longer lived in shadows. Not all sons are born. Some must break away to become men. You were never free, only unaware of the chains disguised as love. Now you see them, now you decide, because the scariest monsters don't chase you, they raise you. Breaking free from the devouring mother's grip is not easy. The chains are invisible and woven from guilt, love, and obligation. The prison feels like home, so stepping outside feels like losing everything: the safety, the identity, the unconditional love you thought you had. But true freedom demands leaving behind the shadows that kept you small. You'll face resistance. Your mother may say you're ungrateful, selfish, or cold. Your family might side with her, reinforcing the script you've lived your whole life. Your own mind will scream with doubt and fear. This is the psychological orphaning, painful but necessary part of individuation, where you emotionally separate and stand on your own. You'll grieve the loss of the good son, the obedient child you once were. You'll mourn the loss of the mother you wished you had instead of the one you did. But in that space of loss, something new is born. Your voice, raw and real. Your will, steady and strong. Your life, authentically yours. Jung noted that men trapped by the devouring mother often find partners who unconsciously replicate that dynamic. Women who mother them rather than challenge and empower them. This opens a painful cycle of emotional dependency and resentment. Breaking that cycle means choosing relationships that honor your autonomy, partners who celebrate your growth rather than suffocate it. It means practicing boundaries, speaking your truth, and embracing your anger as a guide rather than a threat. Anger is not the enemy, it's the signal that you're reclaiming yourself. From this reclaimed strength emerges the true masculine energy Jung spoke of: not aggression, but presence; not control, but direction; not submission, but sovereignty. You learn to serve without being enslaved, to love without losing yourself, to protect without controlling. The devouring mother once taught you fear of abandonment. Now you learn to stand alone and be enough. That's a reclaiming of your soul's deepest call to wholeness. Remember, individuation is a journey, not a destination. You'll falter, regress, and face inner battles. But each step forward heralds a quieter self, a stronger you, a life more lived. So don't mistake comfort for safety. Don't confuse control with care. The hardest battles are fought, not against outside enemies, but inside the walls built in childhood, walls you were led to believe were love. Now you know better. You see the shadows where light was stolen, and you're ready to walk into the unknown, to face the exile within, to become the man you were always meant to be. This is the story not just of survival, but of victory. Victory over silence, guilt, and the prison disguised as love. Step out, step up, live free. Because only when you break the chains of the devouring mother can you truly become whole. It's easy to underestimate the power of the devouring mother because her love feels like shelter. But underneath that shelter lies a storm of control, guilt, and emotional suffocation. And breaking free means learning to walk through that storm without losing yourself. This journey is not just emotional, it's also spiritual. Carl Jung believed that the devouring mother archetype is deeply tied to the collective unconscious. It's a universal pattern, one we've seen reflected in myths, stories, religions, and cultures all over the world. Think of the ancient stories where a mother figure clings too tightly to her child, not out of malice, but from fear and need. the witch in the forest who entraps the hero, the siren whose song pulls sailors back from freedom, or the goddess whose love becomes a prison. These stories symbolize the eternal struggle between dependence and autonomy. Breaking away means claiming your place in the world as a man who's fully alive, not a boy hiding behind his mother's shadow. But how do you do that? First, you have to accept that this process is messy. It's raw and painful. You'll wrestle with conflicting emotions, love and resentment, gratitude and anger, loyalty and rebellion. You will question your identity and values. You may even question your sanity. This is normal. Second, you have to build new boundaries, firm, clear lines that protect your emotional space. Saying no becomes a radical act of self-care. Choosing your own path takes courage, and standing up for yourself might make you feel like the villain in your mother's story. Third, you have to nurture the parts of yourself that were hidden or suppressed. That rebellious streak, your creative voice, your desires, even your anger. These parts hold the keys to your freedom and authenticity. Let them out. Fourth, practice self-compassion. You weren't weak. You were programmed to survive. You weren't selfish. You were learning how to please to stay safe. You're not broken. You were never allowed to be whole. Healing means forgiving yourself and allowing yourself to grow. And finally, seek support. Freedom rarely happens alone. Therapy, trusted friends, mentors, or support groups can help you navigate this emotional terrain. Talking openly about these struggles can break the silence that fuels shame. Remember, individuation is a process without a fixed timeline. You might take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. That's par for the course. What matters is persistence and commitment to becoming who you truly are. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The devouring mother represents that darkness for many men. Facing it does not mean rejecting love. It means redefining it on your own terms. When you break free, you don't lose love, you gain freedom. You don't become cold, you become real. You don't lose connection, you build authentic relationships based on mutual respect and honesty. And that is the ultimate paradox. Sometimes the deepest love requires letting go, not just of control, but of the personas and fears that bound you, not just of expectations, but of the safety found in obedience. The devouring mother taught you how to survive. Individuation teaches you how to live. She may still hover in the background like a shadow, but you are no longer her prisoner. Now you are the master of your own story. The man you were always meant to be was waiting on the other side of fear. The life you crave begins when you say, "I am ready to be free. I am ready to be whole." So take that step. Break the silence. Walk out of the prison built with love, because freedom is the truest act of love you can give yourself. And when you do, you will never walk alone again. Now, you are no longer the frightened boy shadowed by her expectations. You are a man in the making, stepping into your own power. But this path is not straightforward. It demands courage to face the loneliness of psychological separation. It asks you to sit with discomfort, to carry grief, and to rewrite your story from the inside out. This breaking away is a sacred rite of passage, one that Jung saw as essential for true manhood. It's not about severing ties in anger or hatred. It's about reclaiming your autonomy while honoring the complexity of that first intense bond. You don't become less because you say no. You don't become cold because you prioritize your needs. You don't become alone because you let go. Instead, you create space for your real self to grow vulnerable, strong, imperfect, free. This is the gift of individuation, the ability to love without losing yourself, to relate without surrendering, and to live a life that feels deeply yours. Ask yourself, what parts of yourself have you hidden to keep her happy? Where are you still shrinking out of guilt or fear? What would it look like to embrace your full truth? How can you honor your mother and still own your life? Answering these questions is the first step toward healing. Remember, the devouring mother's grip loosens only when you claim your boundaries, speak your truth, and step into the fire of your own becoming. Your journey might be hard. It might feel like betrayal to the one who raised you. But freedom always requires breaking old patterns, then the ones wrapped in love. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." It is your turn now to shed the chains of guilt, to reclaim your voice, to become the man you were born to be, because real love frees, freedom heals. And the man who can love freely is unstoppable. This is not just a psychological theory, it's a call to awakening, a call to manhood, a call to life.